Ethiopia inaugurated Africa's largest hydroelectric dam, a $5 billion project, transforming Ethiopia into the continent's largest power exporter. But worsening ties with Egypt. The dam, which took 14 years to build, sparked intense controversies. Tensions between Ethiopia and Egypt over the dam were once so high that some observers feared that the two countries might go to war over it. The dam, built on the Blue Nile, which is the main tributary of the Nile, with a reservoir roughly the size of Greater London, has led to a surge in Ethiopian nationalism, uniting a nation which is otherwise divided along ethnic lines and mired in conflict. Named the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, the project will provide energy to millions of Ethiopians. It is expected to ultimately produce over 6,000 megawatts of electricity, which is double Ethiopia's current output, enough to supply tens of millions more homes in the country. Reportedly, near half of the country's 135 million people do not have access to electricity. Now, the dam is located about 500 kilometers northwest of the Ethiopian capital of Addis Ababa. It is 1,800 meters long and 175 meters high. Now, Ethiopia insists that the dam is a crucial development that will help pull millions of its citizens out of poverty and become a major power exporter. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed holds the GERD has placed his country firmly on the world stage. Now, despite claims by US President Donald Trump that Washington financially supported the dam's construction, Ethiopia maintains that it was fully funded domestically. People from all walks of life contributed to building the dam through donations and the purchase of government-issued bonds. But for downstream states, Egypt and Sudan, the dam is an existential threat. The dispute over the allocation and the use of the Nile waters has been going on for many years. This has been exacerbated by climate change and increased demand for food and water from growing populations. 11 countries that share the water of the Nile have competing development priorities too. US President Donald Trump said in 2020 that Egypt had threatened to blow up the dam. Egypt has long opposed the dam because of concerns that it would deplete its share of Nile River waters. With a population of about 108 million, it depends on the Nile for about 90% of its fresh water. Now, Egypt, which built its own Aswan High Dam on the Nile in the 1960s, fears that the GERD could restrict its water supply during periods of drought and could lead to the construction of other upstream dams. Negotiations between Egypt and Ethiopia over the years have not led to a pact, and questions remain about how much water Ethiopia will release downstream if a drought occurs. Water experts in downstream Egypt say that the dam has reduced the amount of water the country receives. Sudan is also heavily reliant on water from the Nile and shares Egypt's concern. Now, while Ethiopia and Egypt have been trying to find an agreement for years, Ethiopia won the diplomatic support of upstream nations such as Uganda, home to a regional partnership of 10 countries that last year signed an accord on the equitable use of water resources from the Nile River Basin. The accord of the partnership, known as the Nile Basin Initiative, came into force in October without being ratified by Egypt or Sudan. Now, both the countries have opposed what they describe as Ethiopia's unilateral measures to control the river flow. They have called for the joint management of the river, but Ethiopian Prime Minister Ahmed recently sought to downplay those concerns, stressing that GERD is not a threat but a shared opportunity. Despite the intervention of the African Union and the US government, as well as appeals by Egypt to the UN Security Council, the three countries haven't been able to secure a deal. Now, reports suggest that Ethiopia was planning to increase the sale of electricity to neighboring countries such as Kenya and Djibouti, with ambitions of building a transmission network to cross the Red Sea to sell to Middle Eastern states like Saudi Arabia.